Was Jesus being racist by referring to the Gentiles as little dogs? This is the question that we seek to answer today as we continue our verse-by-verse study of the book of Mark on Walking Through the Bible. If you have a Bible with you, you can turn to Mark chapter 7. We're going to be reading from verses 24 to 30. If you don't have a Bible, don't worry. Just follow along with us on the screen. The version that we'll be reading from is the New King James Version. So, Mark chapter 7, beginning at verse 24. From there he arose and went to the region of Tyre and Sidon. And he entered a house and wanted no one to know it, but he could not be hidden. For a woman whose young daughter had an unclean spirit heard about him, and she came and fell at his feet. The woman was a Greek, a Syrophoenician by birth, and she kept asking him to cast the demon out of her daughter. But Jesus said to her, "Let the children be filled first, for it is not good to take the children's bread and throw it to the little dogs." And she answered and said to him, "Yes, Lord, yet even little dogs under the table eat from the children's crumbs." Then he said to her, "For this saying, go your way, the demon has gone out of your daughter." And when she had come to her house, she found the demon gone out, and her daughter lying on the bed. In this chapter thus far, Jesus had been in Galilee preaching, teaching, and performing miracles. Mark tells us that from there he went into the regions of Tyre and Sidon, in what we would call Lebanon today. In other words, he left the boundaries of what we might call Israel. However, there would be undoubtedly Jews living there. When he arrived, Mark tells us that he went into a house and didn't want others to know it. Why would this be? Well, in Mark thus far, we've seen that Jesus made this request a lot, and each time when it was disregarded, we know what happens. Someone comes and asks him to perform a miracle. While miracles were done by Jesus in order to confirm who he was, there was a purpose he came. He came to seek and save the lost, and so if everyone knew he was there, it would most likely inhibit Jesus' ability to teach. But alas, Jesus' presence could not be hidden, and a woman came and pleaded with Jesus to heal her daughter, who had been possessed by a demon. Mark tells us that this woman was a Greek, a Syrophoenician by birth, in order for us to understand that she wasn't a Jew, she was a Gentile. In Matthew's account, he calls this woman a woman from Canaan. Is there a contradiction here? No, it's just a different way to refer to the same people. Matthew's audience was originally Jews, so it made sense to call her a woman from Canaan. Well, Mark's audience was originally Roman, so it made sense to call this woman a Greek. That's like me referring to myself as a Canadian when I am in Canada, but an American when I'm in the United States. Since I have both citizenships, I'm telling the truth to both audiences. I'm just choosing which citizenship to reveal based on who I'm talking to. In Matthew's discussion of this story in Matthew 15, he gives us a larger discussion between the woman and Jesus, while Mark summarizes the discussion by saying that she kept asking Jesus to cast the demon out from her daughter. In fact, if you read Matthew's account, you'd find that Jesus spoke to this woman 3 times before he actually did what she asked. In Mark's account, we only have one of Jesus' responses, which was that the little children were to eat first, for it is not good to take the children's bread and give it to the little dogs. The bread, of course, represents Jesus' teachings and miracles, and the children were the Jews, and the dogs were the Gentiles. The term dogs here to mean the Gentiles was not an insult, nor was it racist, for the Gentiles were not at that time God's chosen people. The Jews were. Thus, they were going to be the first to hear the message of the kingdom, and once they had heard it, then the Gentiles would hear that message too. It's not that the Gentiles couldn't be saved before Christ, it's just that the Gentiles weren't seeking after God, and so God allowed them to remain blind if they chose to remain such. This woman, however, chose not to remain blind. She could have easily been insulted by Jesus' words and go away, but she did not do that. She persisted by stating that, yes, even the dogs, though, get the scraps that fall from the children's table. Notice here, she was not demanding the entire bread. She wasn't demanding that Jesus abandon the Jews and come to teach the Gentiles only. She was just looking for the scraps, just one miracle to help her daughter. Even though Mark doesn't specifically say so, Jesus commended her for her great faith. And when she returned home, she found that her daughter was healed and the demon was gone. Here is another example for us. Sometimes we ask God for something, and when he says no, we stop asking. This woman was persistent, and so we should be persistent with God in our prayers. having faith that God could decide one day to answer our prayer with a yes and give us what we desire. With that, our time is up for today. The Lord willing, we hope you'll join us for tomorrow's discussion of Mark chapter 7, verses 31 to 37, as we continue our walk through the Bible, one verse at a time. Thank you for watching today's episode. We hope that you found it edifying and ask that you not only subscribe to our channel and podcast, but that you like and share this episode among your friends so that the saving gospel of Jesus Christ can go out to the whole world.